famed Washington Quarter series that began in 1932 represents an important transitional moment in American coinage history, reflecting changing economic realities, patriotic symbolism, and evolving minting practices. Struck during a period of intense national growth and socio-political tension, the coin was produced not in response to tradition but rather necessity. Just 3 years earlier, in 1964, the U.S. Mint had officially ended the use of 90% silver in quarters due to rising silver prices, public hoarding, and a growing coin shortage throughout the country. As a result, the 1967 quarter, like its 1965 and 1966 predecessors, was minted from a copper-nickel-clad composition consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a core of pure copper, resulting in a total weight of 5.67 grams with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters. Unlike quarters from most other years, no mint marks were used on any 1967 quarters, a deliberate decision by the mint to discourage coin collectors from removing fresh coins from circulation at a time when the economy desperately needed them to stay in use. The obverse of the coin continues to feature the left-facing bust of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan, with the inscriptions Liberty at the top, In God We Trust beside the profile, and the date, 1967, below. The reverse bears the heraldic eagle, wings spread in majestic readiness, clutching a bundle of arrows, symbolizing strength and defense, while resting upon an olive branch, emblematic of peace, all encircled by the inscription, United States of America, above and $quarter below, with the national motto, E Pluribus Unum, situated between the wings. Over 1.5 billion 1967 quarters were produced across U.S. mint facilities, though none were individually distinguishable due to the absence of mint marks. Most 1967 quarters encountered today are heavily worn from decades of circulation, still occasionally turning up in pocket change, vending machines, and coin rolls. While standard circulated examples hold only face value, uncirculated or high-grade mint-state specimens, especially those with strong luster, clean surfaces, and fully struck details, may fetch several dollars among collectors. Even more intriguing are the rare Special Mint Set, SMS, versions issued in place of traditional proof sets between 1965 and 1967. These were struck with slightly better quality than circulation strikes, often showing a satin-like finish and sharper detail, making them more desirable to numismatists. A handful of known error coins from 1967, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or missing clad layers, are especially valuable. Beyond its monetary worth, the 1967 quarter stands as a symbol of the United States navigating post-war industrial evolution, the rise of modern minting technology, and the tension between precious metal legacy and practical necessity. Owning or even observing such a coin is to hold a small, tangible artifact of American history, a reminder of how even the most common objects, exchanged silently millions of times a day, can tell the stories of economic policy, national symbolism, and everyday life across generations. Would you like next top? The 1983 United States quarter dollar is a fascinating piece of modern circulating coinage, not because it contains silver or belongs to a distant era, but because of its unusual history within the larger narrative of American numismatics. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, denoted by the small p mint mark on the obverse just next to George Washington's hair ribbon, this coin belongs to the Washington Quarter series originally launched in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of Washington's birth. By 1983, these quarters were well past their commemorative roots and firmly embedded in everyday commerce, composed of a copper-nickel-clad alloy rather than the 90% silver mixture used before 1965. Unlike many other dates, however, the 1983 quarter holds special interest because there were no official U.S. mint sets or souvenir sets released that year. This seemingly small administrative decision had major consequences for collectors decades later. Unlike most modern coins, few pristine 1983 quarters were preserved in uncirculated condition. Most went directly into circulation, jostling with cash registers, pockets, and vending machines for years, acquiring scratches, wear, and grime. As a result, high-grade examples, especially those graded mint state 65 or higher by certification companies like PCGS or NGC, are surprisingly scarce relative to their original mintage of roughly 673 million pieces. For that reason, while a circulated example may only fetch face value or a few cents above, a sharply struck, lustrous uncirculated coin with clean fields and minimal bag marks can command premiums reaching tens or even hundreds of dollars depending on its condition. The coin follows the classic Washington quarter design by John Flanagan. The obverse features a portrait of George Washington in profile facing left, with the inscriptions Liberty arching above and In God We Trust to the left, while the date, 1983, anchors the base. The reverse, unchanged since 1932, features a heraldic eagle clutching a bundle of arrows in its talons, symbolizing strength and preparedness, with two olive branches below representing peace, all encircled by the inscription, United States of America, above and E pluribus unum, directly beneath it, with the denomination quarter dollar at the bottom. Certain die varieties and errors further enhance its appeal among specialists, with known anomalies including off-center strikes, double dies, and rare misaligned cladding issues that reveal portions of the copper core. Such specimens can multiply the coin's value substantially. The 1983 P quarter also holds symbolic significance in economic history. It circulated during the Reagan era, a time marked by economic recovery, Cold War tension, and a resurgent sense of American optimism, carrying with it the silent story of millions of daily transactions, from gas pumps adjusting to fluctuating fuel prices to arcade machines buzzing in shopping malls. For many collectors today, the 1983 P quarter represents not just a date, but a lesson that rarity is not always found in age or metallic content, but in preservation and circumstance. Even in the age of digital payments, the coin remains a small metallic ambassador of a transitional decade, reminding us that value often hides in the most ordinary of places. Whether tucked away in a change jar or graded and encapsulated in a collector's case, the 1983 P quarter stands as a testament to the unexpected complexity of modern coinage and the enduring legacy of America's first president on everyday money. Next top. The 1988 United States quarter dollar is part of the long-running Washington quarter series, which first debuted in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Struck at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the prominent D mint mark located just to the right of Washington's ponytail below the phrase, In God We Trust, this particular release represents a late entry in the coinage era preceding the wildly popular 50-state quarters program that began in 1999. Composed of a copper-nickel-clad alloy, specifically an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, the 1988 D quarter weighs 5.67 grams, measures 24.3 millimeters in diameter, and features a reeded edge with 119 tiny grooves. On the obverse, the classic bust of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan based on Jean-Antoine Houdon's 18th-century sculpture, faces left with dignified restraint, framed by the word Liberty above and the coin's date, 1988 below. The reverse design, also by Flanagan, showcases a heraldic eagle clutching a bundle of arrows and olive branches, symbolizing both defensive strength and peaceful aspirations. Above it arches the inscription, United States of America, and directly beneath it the iconic motto, E pluribus unum, Latin for, out of many, one. The Denver Mint produced over 596 million of these quarters in 1988, making them common in circulation, though well-preserved examples, especially those graded mint state, MS68 or higher, by professional grading agencies, can carry significant numismatic value, often ranging from a few dollars to over $20 or more depending on luster, strike quality, and absence of wear. While most circulated specimens today are worth little more than face value, collectors seek out rare die varieties and minting errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or coins struck on transitional or foreign planchets, oddities that can elevate a seemingly ordinary pocket change piece into a desirable rarity worth hundreds. Historically, the 1988 D quarter sits at an interesting moment in American coinage, emerging during an era of economic transition under President Ronald Reagan and later George H.W. Bush, when cash transactions were still the norm and vending machines, arcade cabinets, laundromats, and payphones devoured quarters with insatiable appetite. Millions of people who lived through the late 1980s likely touched this exact coin type during everyday purchases. Perhaps it jingled in the pockets of denim jeans, fed jukeboxes playing glam rock and early hip-hop, or dropped into toll booths along expanding interstate highways. Although visually modest, the 1988 D quarter embodies the dual spirit of American practicality and continuity, bridging generations through its unchanged patriotic design, a design so widely recognized that for decades it has served as a symbol of American currency itself. Today, whether discovered in an attic jar, handed as change at a convenience store, or preserved pristinely in a coin album, the 1988 D quarter dollar remains both a functional tool of commerce and a tangible relic of late 20th century Americana, quietly telling a story of craftsmanship, economy, and daily life in an era just before the digital age would begin to phase out the role of physical change altogether. Next top. The 1996 D United States quarter dollar, minted in Denver, Colorado, stands as both a functional piece of modern currency and a quiet historical artifact of late 20th century America. Struck during the presidency of Bill Clinton, this coin belongs to the Washington Quarter Series, which began in 1932 in honor of George Washington's 200th birthday and has remained one of the most recognizable coins in American circulation for decades. The obverse of the 1996 D quarter features the left-facing portrait of George Washington, originally sculpted by John Flanagan, a design that had been largely unchanged for over 60 years at that point. Above Washington's head appear the bold capital letters Liberty, while to the left of his profile lies the national motto, In God We Trust. Just beneath the neckline, near Washington's ponytail ribbon, is the D mint mark, identifying it as a Denver-issued coin. On the reverse side, the iconic bald eagle with spread wings dominates the design, clutching a bundle of arrows to symbolize military readiness, while an olive branch below represents America's dedication to peace, an intentional pairing that reflects the United States' self-image as both a protector of freedom and an advocate of diplomacy. Encircling the majestic eagle are the inscriptions United States of America at the top and E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one, just beneath, ending with quarter dollar at the bottom. The 1996 D quarter was struck in massive quantities, with approximately 906 million coins entering circulation, making it a common but historically meaningful issue. Its composition is part of the modern clad coinage era, consisting of an inner core of pure copper sandwiched between outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it that familiar silvery sheen while being cost-efficient for mass production. Each coin weighs 5.67 grams, spans 24.3 millimeters in diameter, and features a reeded edge, a tradition carried over from earlier silver coinage to deter clipping and counterfeiting. Although to most Americans it may have been just loose change jingling in pockets, vending machines, toll booths, and arcade token slots, the 1996 D quarter occupies a unique place in U.S. history as one of the final years before the monumental 1999 launch of the 50-state quarters program, which revolutionized coin collecting nationwide. As such, 1996 quarters, especially Denver-minted ones in uncirculated or mint-state condition, graded MS68 or higher, are often seen by numismatists as the last of the classic Washington Eagleback quarters, marking the close of a long, uninterrupted design era that began before World War II. From a collector's perspective, circulated 1996 D quarters found in pocket change typically hold only face value, but pristine examples preserved in mint sets or discovered with striking errors, such as off-center strikes, filled mint marks, double dies, or improperly clad planchets, can fetch several dollars to even hundreds, depending on rarity. While not inherently rare, the sentimental and historical value of the 1996 D quarter lies in its position as a symbolic bridge between the traditional and the modern. It represents an America on the cusp of technological revolution, minted in an era just before smartphones, digital currency, and tap-to-pay began phasing out physical coins. To millions of Americans who handled it, it was not just a piece of metal. It was a bus fare, a gumball machine token, a laundry coin, a childhood arcade memory, or part of a carefully counted stack for weekend allowance. Today, collectors often recommend setting aside one high-grade 1996 D-quarter to represent the last quiet year before the Great Change, memorializing both Washington's steadfast image and the enduring symbolism of the bald eagle. Though abundant, the 1996 D-quarter remains a small but steadfast ambassador of American identity, a fusion of history, economy, patriotism, and everyday life, carried in millions of hands yet rarely truly seen until now.